Hi, I'm Khleif. Each and every week, I record an interview with a thought leader that I know you're going to get a ton of value from. Now, here on YouTube are the video versions of my podcast, Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. Now, to make sure you get the latest information, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to enjoy the dynamic gentleman we're interviewing today. His name's Prefontaine. Now, Chris has his own podcast that you should check out. It's called The Smart Real Estate Coach, and he interviews people just like I do. Chris has been in the business a long time, got his butt kicked in '08 like I did. So he's a kindred spirit in that regard. And we're going to dig into some things that we really haven't talked about on this show a lot, and that is buying property on terms. So let's get right to it. Chris, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have some fun today. So, like I'm sure you do on your show, let's talk about background a little bit. If you share with my listeners, about your story, how you got in the business, where you're at now, and why you and I love this freaking real estate business.
Yeah. You can go back to any piece of this, but I started in '91 actually, so I'm dating myself just a touch. I did a bunch of single family building back then on what I call spot lots, infill in neighborhoods. But what was cool without knowing I was doing it in hindsight now is we did it all in terms. So I'd have the owner wait on his money, I'd have the subs wait, I'd have everybody wait, and at the end when I got the home done, everybody got paid. So it was pretty cool. I was young and ripe and thought that was the way you do it, and so everybody went along. Then I bought a Realty Executives franchise in '94, 5-ish, and built that to 2000, sold to Coldwell Banker. That was the intent. I didn't want to be in that forever. And then I started coaching in 2000, doing my own real estate investments and coaching in US and Canada. Had about 48 clients there, and that got a little boring because I was tying me to a phone all day, as you can imagine. But it was a great experience. And then the market crash came in '08, and I got annihilated, like you just alluded to. And that caused me to pivot and do everything now the way we do it on terms without using banks or cash.
Okay. So what you got out of the experience was you don't ever want to be personally on the hook with a bank for debt again. And I didn't get that memo. I should have got that memo. Like I mentioned to you before we started recording, I lost 50 million. It really did. I'm back now, and it was painful. And I wouldn't have my amazing wife or live in the beautiful home that we live in if it hadn't happened. But it wasn't a lot of fun while it was happening. So you pivoted, and you just decided moving forward you were going to buy everything on terms. So as you know, my listener base is multifamily. So let's talk about how someone that's in this business can buy multifamily on terms.
Yeah. So anything I say about single or multi is going to work because I've done multis with this. But what I like the most, especially for multi, you can do lease purchase, master lease, but I like the owner financing. And what I target, Rod, to be a cool one to target for multis would be free and clear properties. I know single family wise, and you might know the stat for multis, but single family wise, it's like a third of the properties are debt free. So I don't know what it is for multi. I know the two I did were debt free recently. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What'd you say? There's a bunch.
I said it's a little less, but that's okay. I mean, there's about 1.2 million multifamily properties in this country, so there's plenty of inventory.
Yeah, there you go. So we do. When I say owner financing, I mean it can be a number of things, but when I say it, it means free and clear, and it means principal only payments. And so every one I've done, single and multi, has been principal only payments, and so that's a nice additional hedge against any economy, clearly, especially if you can get long enough terms. The building I'm sitting in right now, my own office building, we bought this on terms. We did not use a bank. So I just refused to use a bank and sign my name on it personally. And I think that they could do free and clear all day long in the multi world.
So how do you sell that? Because I mean, it sounds great. I mean, a loan with no interest, and you don't deal with the bank, and you negotiate and dictate the terms versus having them dictated to you. How do you? First of all, let's talk about how you find those deals.
Yep.
First, and then let's talk about how you sell them.
Yeah. So find them a couple different ways. As you know, you can buy a list of anything these days. You can buy a list of people that wear pink underwear on Friday. I mean, it's just crazy. But, so you can buy it from like a Melissa Data or any one of those data sources. But then recently we started getting it right on, you guys probably know of this program, PropStream. It's simple. So they could go on there. It's like a good resource, and you can get your list. You can niche it down to free and clear. And then how do you sell them? I think you said two things.
So you mail them, yes? You mail them, you call them. What do you do?
We mail typically if we're gonna try to target an area, yeah. Or most of our other deals we call, either one.
Okay.
Get the data on
So
both.
you actually make outbound calls to sellers as well.
Our virtual assistants do, yeah.
Virtual assistants. So let me drill down on that if you don't mind. Your virtual assistants domestic? Are they in the Philippines?
No, they're all U.S. actually. We have a team. We have two things going on. We have one that we've had for 6.5, 7 years, who we also use for our students. So he's done, I don't know how many, ridiculous amount of calls. And then we use a service that's just real estate, and they're in the U.S.
Okay. All right. So you're mailing them. Let's talk about the mailing for a minute. How often are you mailing, and what are you mailing?
For me, so mailing's not our main lead generator, Rod. So if I want to do one, like literally, I can say, I'll mail to the free and clear list. I did like a 400-piece mailing recently, and I just did a letter saying we're looking to buy property in your area to Multi. Out of that, we bought one. And my daughter said, well, that was good. Let's do another one. So we sent another one out, bought another one, a 6-unit. So they're not too difficult, and you don't need a whole bunch. You're not talking about a lot of money for a few hundred mailers.
Right. So you just do free and clear, and you just mail them a letter. You do letters, postcards. What do you like to do the most?
I've done letters, and I've done the yellow letter, the handwritten looking thing in an
Sure.
envelope that looks like an invitation. They both work. I think the yellow letter gets opened a lot more, but they both work fine. We bought a house each time. So, you usually can get a deal out of a mailing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And then when you're talking to the seller, how do you position terms, and how do you sell no interest?
Yeah, two things come to mind. One is in no particular priority order. One is I usually would say to someone, so say the property's $550,000. I'm making that up. I may pay them $550 all the way up to maybe $575 if they'll go out longer, because what do I care? It's going to get eaten up with principal payments in the first X amount of months. I don't mind paying an extra 6 or 8 months, in my mind, they don't know that, of my monthly payment I'm going to pay them. I add that to the price, and they think they're getting a premium. Now, they're not stupid, but they like that. And then the second piece.
Hold on. So I want to stop you for a second, because that is freaking brilliant. Okay. I love that. I'm asking $250. Well, I'm going to pay you whatever it is, $275. But you're going to carry the papers. That's huge. I love it. So your little back of the napkin thing is 6 to 8 months of payments.
Roughly. And if they go out, let's face it, they went out 10 years. I don't care if I give them 12 extra, 12.
Exactly. Okay. Love it. Okay. So what else?
Second piece is, and for some, this is not big, depends on the size of the property, but they got to stop each year and report interest income if I'm paying them interest, right? And it's such a piddly number on a lot of deals. So I tell them, look, you're not reporting interest income. This is all principal. So depending on what your basis is, go see your accountant, but you're stretching out this capital gains thing, and you're not paying interest income. Taxes on interest.
So you turn a negative into a positive. So instead of saying you're not getting interest, you say you're not paying interest income. I love it. Love it. That's basic sales, man. Turn it into a positive. Okay. And you're right. Let me interject a couple of quick things. A couple of things that come to mind here. By the way, guys, if you're going to mail multifamily, what you're going to find is a lot of that property is owned in entities, and it's kind of a pain. But if you really want to maximize your mailers, you need to go to the Secretary of State and have a VA do this. Somebody in the Philippines, I had 6 of them doing it for a year on mobile home parks. Seems like a lifetime ago. It's only been 2 years ago. And I was paying each one of these VAs $1.93 an hour full time. I had 6 of them working full time for a whole year. I did the whole country. But what you do is you go into the Secretary of State's office and you find out who owns that entity, the LLC or the corporation, and you get their home address. And if you can, you get their phone number. And then you've got a list, and you're mailing them at their home addresses, which is much more powerful than sending it to the registered agent for that entity. So just an aside on that. Now, let me ask you this. When you do a mailer, Chris, is it a one and done, or do you do a sequence? Because I tell people, if you're not going to do more than one, don't even bother. But it sounds like you've been very successful on your one-offs. Do you mail them?
I do agree with you, though, from a pure marketing standpoint. Yeah, you do one, you're almost throwing it away. But
right.
can luck out, but yeah, you almost have to run away. I like 3 to 5.
Okay, 3 to 5, and we're like over a year period then.
Yeah, spread out. I usually go a little shorter time frame, but maybe 6 months.
Okay. Okay. Even shorter. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Let's see. That was the one thing I wanted to mention. And then,
there's another reason, Rod,
the other thing.
for some. Well, there's 2 other ones. One is some people like to spread that capital gains out. So depending on what
that's where I was going to go to. Yeah. Okay.
they're spreading that out. They're paying it, but they're paying it over time based on the percentage of profit to basis. And then another one is just pure estate planning. The gentleman that I bought this building from, he flat didn't want the money right now. He wants it spread out. He's 70 some odd years old. He said, I don't need it right now.
Exactly. And that's one of the big benefits. If it's free and clear, chances are you're dealing with a retiree. And if you can show them, listen, you're going to get $1 million from this property. You're going to put it in the bank and you're going to get 1% interest. Here's your payment. Now, I'll pay you X, okay? And you're only going to pay tax on what you receive every year, and so your payments are going to be much higher. Now, yeah, you're in your case you're not paying interest. In my case I usually pay interest, but I love your model better for sure. But yeah, from the tax standpoint, guys, you definitely and the key here is if you don't ask, you don't get. So make sure you always ask if you're dealing directly with a seller if they'd consider taking payments. So very, very important. Awesome. So
and on the term, Rod, just for script, while you're on that, you made me think of it. We usually do like 4 to 6, sometimes 10. But when someone says, how far out are you talking? If they're like, whoa, how far out? I'll say, well, we usually do 25 or 30. Why? What did you have in mind? And then they think they got a gift when we go to, if we have to negotiate it down.
Okay, so you say we usually do 25 to 30 years, and if they can get you down to 15 or 20, and you're only paying principal. I mean, you're paying, less than you'd pay on a PI loan, principal and interest loan.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, no, that's awesome. Anything else on that, or can we move to something?
No, you're good. That's good.
Okay. All right. So I know that you've owned and managed effectively a family-run business. Can you, and a lot of my listeners, want to do this with their spouse. They want to maybe bring their kids in. I want to bring my son in. I haven't been able to convince him yet because he's making too much money doing what he's doing. But let's talk about the nuances of owning and managing a family-run business and the positives and the negatives.
Sure.
Okay.
So the positives, they're easy. So let me hit those. It's a different, in my opinion, it's a different commitment level if they want to be there, right? They just, they're not working 9 to 5 and going home. I never see it. I mean, they're just on it, and they're on it because it's family, but they're also on it because there is no free lunch. From day one, they get paid as we do deals, period. So there's no draw. There's none of that. You hustle. You have a dry spit period. It's because we all didn't do something. Mm-hmm. So that works real, real well. The other thing that worked well for us is I started talking to you a little bit off here about we belong to a group that helps other business owners, not just real estate. In fact, we're the only real estate. Helps them scale their biz. Well, part of that is establishing values and mission and purpose and all that, which you should do anyway. Not many businesses do. And it wasn't set up by me saying, here's what we're doing. This is what you got to live by. It was all of us saying, what are our values? What are we making decisions on? So there's never arguing about that. Why'd you make this decision? Because it fits with the values you told me you wanted to live by. So that works great. And then the other thing is that
let me stop you if you don't mind just for a second. Yeah. You're throwing lots of great stuff out here, and I don't want my people to miss it. So guys, I know you're thinking, well, I just want to buy some apartment buildings, but I'm going to put a team together. And you're thinking, what does values or mission or purpose statement or any of that stuff have to do with any of that? I'm going to tell you a lot, okay? Because like he said, especially, I mean, this is not just a family run, this doesn't just apply to a family run business. It applies to any team you put together. They've got to get behind your mission. They got to, and let me tell you one key piece here. When you put a team together, and I've built 24 businesses, so this is something, I love talking about. When you put a team together, you need to make sure they're involved in that process of establishing those values, those missions, that purpose statement, because then they're behind it. They own it. They're enrolled in it. Don't just dump it on them. But every business should do that, should decide what they're going to stand for, what they're, who they're going to help, and it's more than just money. Okay, and so I just want to speak to that for just a second. Please continue, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. I love the brainstorming. And the other one is it fits in that same realm, but it's kind of what I call meeting flow. Meaning we meet every trimester. Quarterly seemed like it was too much for us. We meet every trimester. We establish the annual priorities, and then we say, in this trimester, what are we nailing? What's like going to move the needle the most? We all agree on that, and then we whittle that down to each one of us doing what we call the big three. Big three are the three things me personally, my big three are going to be what's going to move the needle most for me to hit those annual priorities. That seems to work well too, because it's very open communication with family. And everybody, again, there's no arguing. Like, we all establish this together. So it's a lot of communication.
Does everybody in your family, i.e. team, have their own swim lane?
Yes. And
okay.
It's a good question, because they got there organically. So my son came in and started helping me part-time, and then that grew to, I love working with the buyer side. Okay, great. And then my son-in-law came in and started really taking over my role and duplicating me, and my daughter's more organized, and none of us want the other role. So it's kind of cool.
Perfect. And that's why I asked, because, you want people to play to their strengths. And I love that it happened organically for you, because that means it's going to be sustainable. Instead of you trying to put a square peg in a round hole, they moved to what their strengths and loves were. So that's awesome. So you meet every trimester. That's interesting.
Offsite.
Okay. So that's the big meeting. Do you meet on an ongoing basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, just regarding ops, regarding what's happening, regarding
so we meet monthly to see how those are going as a team, and we meet every week we call them one-on-ones. So I meet with the ones that report directly to me one-on-one every single week to go over where we are, the big three. Do you need my support? What's going on? What's challenging you, etc.
So the big three are the big three initiatives that they're going to own and work towards that trimester. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And you brought something up that was interesting. You said something about, they might think they don't need that. Or, look, if you're buying and selling buildings, anything, right, and you're just going out and doing deals, you kind of got a job. But as soon as you put a team in place and you can scale it, you got a nice lifestyle. Yes,
you do. And you're basically taking off the employee hat and putting on the entrepreneur hat. And it's a different mindset. And that's a great segue into the next thing I'd like to chat with you about, which I know that you're an expert in, and that is being a disciplined and goal-driven entrepreneur. So can you speak to that a little bit, the nuances of entrepreneurship versus W-2 and what that means?
Well, so let's hit the discipline thing, because I used to say to my wife before the kids were even born, and they're 30 and 29 now, I used to say, if you have discipline, you literally should be able to run any business and succeed at it. Discipline's so key. So simple discipline thing that we do is we call it the power of one daily discipline. This is so elementary, but it works, and it works for the people I teach. And that is on the left side of the paper, you list down all your things that if you do them daily will make a successful year. And then across the top, you have 1 through 31 for the month. And it's self-accountability. You make yourself check off those boxes every single night. That's a simple, but if you say, a guy in a mastermind call said this. He said to me, and this is when I started in 1994. He said, hey guys, we were all selling 200 homes at the time as realtors. And he said, I got this figured out. I can have a successful year if I just make every day a success, and here's my list. Well, that's pretty elementary, but pretty powerful, I think.
So just you blew through it kind of fast. So you put numbers 1 through 31 across the top, and then you've got a list of the tasks that you know that if you complete them consistently, you'll be successful. Am I pre-framing or
yeah? So each day, yeah. So self-accountability, as you know, is pretty powerful, right? So and it's even better with someone else. But you can do both. And each day, say it says send 10 mailers out, call 10 people, whatever it is. You're gonna check that off. Yep, I did it. It's something strangely weird about you personally looking at that list at the end of the day, going, geez, I'm not checking any boxes. I really sucked today. Like I did nothing. And it's now if you want to increase the odds of you doing it, give it to an accountability partner and do that every week. I have one every Monday morning at 8 a.m. That's a powerful thing for discipline.
No kidding. So even with your level of success, you have an accountability partner.
Yeah, it's actually a gentleman that I met through producing my podcast, and he has 3, I think, but I have him every Monday. I don't care where we are. It's 15 minutes. It's what were your wins, what were your losses, what were your ahas, and what were your fixes, and what's your big goal for this week. That's it. We're off the phone.
Okay, wins,
losses,
losses,
ahas,
ahas,
and fixes.
fixes. What does that mean?
Well,
From the previous call, the loss you fixed?
yeah, it could have been a loss that you fixed. It could have been an aha, so you fixed it,
Okay.
And then we do one kind of what's the big goal this week? What's that one thing that you got to make sure you do this week? And it's funny, we're both successful in our own right? And he gets on a phone last week and he says, geez, Chris, it's so funny. He says, this is what I do, but that putting that one thing on paper, knowing I had to talk to you, I make sure it gets done on my whiteboard,
Yeah, it sounds like Gary Keller going on here.
That the one thing, yeah.
Love it. Great book, guys. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the founder of Keller Williams wrote a book called The One Thing. And you mentioned something else. You mentioned that you were in a mastermind, and I'm here to tell you guys, if I have a mastermind that I run. It's over 4 billion in assets represented in it, and and I started it here in my home, my compound here in Florida, and it was just so incredible. It morphed into this incredible group now, and I'm going to invite you to do one for yourself. Put one together, join one. I've been in probably a dozen of them. I've made millions of dollars from them, from the relationships in them and growth in them. And so, I'm sure you feel the same way. Yes, Chris, about masterminds?
Oh, as you were saying it, Rod, I mean, I could spend an hour and list the dollar directly related to a side idea in the hallway from a mastermind, a conversation in a mastermind, a connection. Today, the gentleman I talked about, and my accountability partner, connected me with a gentleman in a totally different industry, but in a half-hour conversation, we both found, 5 things we can help each other with. I mean, big things. So I couldn't agree more.
Right. So let me ask you this. I like to ask this question sometimes, and definitely want to ask you this question. If you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something with what you know now about the real estate business, what might you do differently?
This thought it would apply to any business, so real estate too, and it is that, and I wish I did it at that age, but I wished at day one, someone said to me, look, Chris, success leaves clues, so find someone that's doing X, whatever X is for you,
right? But
then don't look left, right, or backwards. Don't get on the shiny objects, because that happens to everyone. Sure. Follow that person or for a minimum of 36 months, and you'll have huge success. Well, that's true, because after 36 months, you're going to be engulfed and successful and happy with it, because you gave it the time and you didn't deviate. I know that sounds simple, but we get a mentor and we sometimes go a different direction.
No, it's so true. And just about any successful or super successful person I've ever met, interviewed, has done it via mentors, done it via coaching, continual learning. I know you're a big proponent for continual learning as well. I remember my son, when I'm in my $8 million mansion on the beach, this testament to my ego that I built, and I've owned 2,000 properties at that point, and this was pre-crash. The one I lost in crash, pre-crash. But he was 9 years old, and I told him, listen, buddy, I'm going to be gone this weekend. I'm going to a real estate boot camp. And he's like, why are you going to a real estate boot camp? Why aren't you teaching it? And I wasn't teaching back then. I said, because learning is earning. It's a continual. You agree with me?
Yeah, I always say, so this year is my learning year for my earning year next year, and next year is my learning year for my earning year the following year.
I love it. So last question, do you, maybe I may have one more after this, but why do you think people fail to succeed in real estate or business in general? What pops into your head?
Two things immediately.
Okay.
One is the space between the ears. right here. There's no freaking question, because I have the best people I can think of that I work with that had success. The only thing that slowed them down or have different time frame from others is the mental space. There's no question. It's a big part of the game. And the second thing is, this is big in real estate. Unfortunately, you'll probably agree with this, because there's too many people touting a bunch of crap that they think are going to make people rich, right? Mm-hmm. So it's mismanaged expectations. Oh, I saw the guy. He told me I could, make $1 million in 30. It's just stupid. And so I tell people, give it 3 years, or don't come in on our team. It's just not worth it.
No, there's no get rich quick in real estate. It's you become freaking wealthy over time, particularly if you're holding on to the assets.
Yep.
But there's no get rich quick. I love it. What's your favorite quote, buddy? A quote that you love that keeps you going in life?
When I got cranked in '08, I used to, and I think it might be behind me on that bookshelf, but massive action trumps everything. You can finish that with massive action sustains. Massive action is the best revenge, whatever, but that's massive action.
Couldn't agree more, brother. Couldn't agree more. Listen, you've added a ton of value, guys. Check out his podcast, Smart Real Estate Coach. And good guy and very knowledgeable. And I appreciate your valuable time, my friend.
Thank you. Good chat, Rod.
All right. Likewise. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you listen to podcasts, join me on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to those podcasts. Just search for Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing.
Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure and subscription documentation and subject to all applicable laws.